Unaware his pregnant wife's 3 billionaire brothers were watching, he made his mistress humiliate her at their anniversary party, while 1,000 guests laughed. What happened when 3 hypercars pulled up left him begging. Do it, Scarlett. Empty the whole thing on her head. Show everyone here who truly deserves to stand beside me. Marcus Drake's voice rang through the Grand Meridian Ballroom as his mistress lifted the crystal punch bowl high, a wicked smile spreading across her face. Isabella Drake stood frozen, her hands trembling over her 6-month pregnant belly, her champagne gown already torn at the hem from where she'd stumbled moments before. 1,000 guests held their breath, phones raised, recording the destruction of a woman who'd given up everything for love. "Marcus, we have a baby coming," Isabella whispered, her voice so broken it barely carried past the first row of tables. "I'm your wife. How can you let her do this to me? To us? Wife?" Marcus laughed, the sound sharp and cruel as it echoed off marble floors. "You were a stepping stone, Isabella. A convenient connection to respectability while I built my empire. But Scarlett here, she's my equal, my future. And you? You're just the mistake I'm finally correcting." He turned to the crowd with a showman's grin. "Everyone raise your glasses. You're witnessing the end of my biggest burden." The punch bowl tilted. Isabella gasped as ice-cold liquid crashed over her head, soaking through her hair, streaming down her face, drenching the gown she'd spent 3 weeks choosing for this anniversary celebration. The cold shocked her skin, made her baby kick hard against her ribs as if protesting the cruelty. She stood there shaking, arms wrapped around her unborn daughter, as 1,000 people either laughed or looked away in shame. Not one person moved to help her. Not one voice rose in her defense. She was utterly, completely alone, drowning in humiliation while cameras captured every second of her breaking. "Look at her," Scarlett cooed, running her fingers through Marcus's hair like Isabella was invisible. "So pathetic. Did you really think a man like Marcus would stay with someone so ordinary? Someone who brought nothing but neediness and tears?" Isabella's legs trembled. The ballroom spun around her. 7 years ago, Marcus had been a struggling MBA student working at a coffee shop, reciting poetry to her between shifts, telling her she was the first person who ever truly saw him. She'd believed every word. She'd introduced him to her brother's business contacts when he needed investors. She'd stood by him through every failed pitch and rejection letter. And when her brothers warned her that Marcus was using her, that the financial irregularities Aiden found suggested something dark underneath the charm, she'd accused them of trying to control her life. She'd screamed that they wanted to keep her dependent, that they couldn't accept she'd found real love outside their protective bubble. At their engagement party, after Aiden publicly questioned Marcus's business ethics, Isabella had made a choice. She'd looked her oldest brother in the eye and said, "If you can't be happy for me, then I don't need you at my wedding." She'd eloped 3 weeks later, cut off all contact, changed her number, blocked their emails. For 5 years, she'd built a life with Marcus, convinced she was proving her independence, proving she didn't need the Harrington name or money or protection. And now here she stood, soaked in punch at her own anniversary party, realizing she'd traded 3 brothers who loved her unconditionally for a husband who'd never loved her at all. "Marcus, please." She tried one more time, her voice barely above a whisper. "Remember when we first met? You said I saved you. You said you'd never hurt me." "I lied," Marcus said simply, and the casual way he admitted it made several guests gasp. "I said what I needed to say to get what I wanted, and what I wanted was access to the Harrington network. But you were so desperate to rebel against your brothers, so eager to prove you could make it on your own, you made it pathetically easy." Scarlett laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "She actually thought you loved her. How adorable." The ballroom doors suddenly flew open with such force they slammed against the marble walls. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Every head turned. The string quartet stopped playing mid-note, and into that sudden, terrifying silence, 3 men walked in with the kind of presence that made the air itself feel heavier. Isabella's heart stopped. She knew those silhouettes. She'd know them anywhere, even after 5 years of silence. Aiden Harrington entered first, 6'3", and built like he'd been carved from anger itself. His black suit was perfectly tailored, but the way he moved suggested he was ready to tear it off and fight with his bare hands. His eyes scanned the ballroom with terrifying focus until they landed on his baby sister, standing there soaking wet and shaking, and something in his expression shifted from fury to devastation so profound it made people step back. Grayson Harrington followed, moving with the cold precision of a predator who'd already calculated exactly how to destroy everyone in this room. His hands were relaxed at his sides, but Isabella remembered those hands, remembered how gentle they'd been when he'd taught her to ride a bike, when he'd braided her hair for school pictures, when he'd held her through nightmares after their parents died. Miles Harrington came last, his phone in his hand, his expression eerily calm in a way that was somehow more frightening than his brother's visible rage. He was already typing, already setting something in motion, and the three people near enough to see his screen went pale. The valet manager had tried to warn Marcus. He really had. But Marcus had been too busy celebrating his victory to answer his phone. Now, as the Harrington brothers walked through that ballroom with 1,000 guests frozen in fear, as they moved past tables full of Chicago's elite, who suddenly remembered exactly who the Harrington family was and what they were capable of, Marcus Drake finally looked up from kissing Scarlett. He saw 3 men in expensive suits walking toward him with purpose. He didn't recognize them yet. He had no idea his entire world was about to end. Aiden reached Isabella first. He didn't say a word. He just took off his suit jacket with movements so controlled they were almost gentle and draped it around his sister's soaking shoulders. The jacket was warm from his body heat, and it smelled like the cologne she remembered from childhood, from being picked up after school, from being carried to bed when she fell asleep during movie nights. Isabella looked up at her oldest brother, and the tears that had been stuck in her throat finally broke free. "Aiden, I'm so sorry," she whispered. "You were right. You were all right." "Shh." Aiden's voice was soft, meant only for her, as he examined her swollen hand where Scarlett had stepped on it earlier. "We'll talk later. Right now, I need you to go wait in the car with Grayson." "But Marcus will." "Marcus will what?" Aiden asked. And though his voice stayed quiet, something in it made Isabella's spine straighten. "Do you think I'm afraid of Marcus Drake?" Grayson appeared at Isabella's other side, his hand gentle on her elbow. "Come on, Bella," he said, using the nickname he hadn't been allowed to call her in 5 years. "Let's get you out of here." Miles brought Dr. Chen. "She's waiting outside to check on you and the baby." Isabella let Grayson guide her toward the exit, but she couldn't stop looking back. Marcus had finally recognized who the 3 men were. The color had drained from his face. Scarlett was clutching his arm, her earlier confidence evaporating as she realized these weren't just any wedding crashers. "Who the hell are you?" Marcus demanded, trying to sound authoritative and failing completely. "This is a private event." "Security!" But the security guards who'd been stationed around the ballroom didn't move. They'd recognized the Harrington brothers the moment they walked in. Everyone in Chicago knew better than to cross the family that owned half the city's infrastructure. "Security isn't coming," Miles said calmly, still typing on his phone. "I just bought this hotel. As of 3 minutes ago, everyone here works for me." He looked up, his smile cold and precise. "Including your security team. Would you like to rethink your approach?" Marcus's mouth opened and closed. Scarlett stepped back, suddenly very interested in being anywhere else. Aiden walked slowly toward Marcus, each step deliberate, giving him time to understand what was coming. "You know who I am?" Marcus's voice cracked. "You're Isabella's brothers." "I'm Isabella's brother," Aiden corrected. "The brother she cut out of her life 5 years ago because you convinced her that our concern was control. The brother who respected her choice even though it killed us to watch her disappear. The brother who just watched you humiliate my pregnant sister in front of 1,000 people while we were on a video call." Marcus went pale. "Video call?" Miles held up his phone. "A friend of Isabella's sent us a live stream. We've been watching for the past 20 minutes. Every word, every laugh, every second of what you did to her." He turned the phone around, showing Marcus the screen. "And so have 3 million other people. It went viral about 10 minutes ago." The ballroom erupted in whispers. Guests scrambled for their phones. Marcus grabbed for Miles's phone, but Grayson had returned from escorting Isabella outside, and he caught Marcus's wrist mid-reach with a grip that made the smaller man gasp in pain. "Don't touch my brother," Grayson said quietly. In fact, don't move at all. Just stand there and listen very carefully to what happens next. This is insane. Marcus tried to pull free. You can't just barge in here and threaten me. I have lawyers. I have connections. Douglas Pembroke himself is invested in my company. Douglas Pembroke, Aiden repeated, and something about the way he said the name made several people in the crowd shift uncomfortably. The oil magnate who hates our family because we outbid him on the Chicago Harbor Development Project? Marcus's eyes widened. You know about that? Marcus, everyone in this room knows that Douglas Pembroke's hatred of the Harringtons is legendary, Miles said, pocketing his phone. What you didn't know is that Pembroke's entire energy empire relies on shipping contracts we control. Contracts that, as of 4 minutes ago, are under review for renewal. You can't, Marcus started. We already did. Grayson cut him off. I just made 3 phone calls. Pembroke's primary shipping lanes are now closed to his vessels pending environmental compliance investigations. Investigations that will take approximately 18 months to resolve. His stock will be worthless by morning. But I need his investment. Marcus's voice was rising, panic setting in. My business depends on that capital infusion. Aiden smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. Your business. Let's talk about your business, Marcus. You run a luxury real estate consulting firm, correct? You broker deals between ultra-wealthy buyers and exclusive properties. Marcus nodded warily. And your entire client base trusts you because you have access to off-market listings, private sales, and confidential financial information. Aiden continued. Trust is everything in your industry, isn't it? Where are you going with this? Miles tapped his phone screen. I'm going somewhere very specific. You see, in the past 15 minutes, my media empire has published an investigative report on Marcus Drake's business practices. Would you like to know what we found? The ballroom was dead silent now. Even Scarlett had gone white. We found evidence of fraud, Miles said conversationally. 17 instances of you inflating property values to secure larger commissions. 9 cases of you accepting kickbacks from sellers that you never disclosed to buyers. And my personal favorite, 3 instances where you sold properties you knew had undisclosed structural damage. That's not true, Marcus said, but his voice wavered. It's all true, Grayson said. We've had investigators looking into you for 5 years, Marcus. Since the day you married our sister. We knew you were dirty. We just couldn't prove it while Isabella was defending you. But now she's not defending you anymore, Aiden added softly. Now she's standing outside this hotel realizing that everything we warned her about was true. So now we can do what we've wanted to do since the moment you convinced her to cut us out of her life. What are you going to do? Marcus asked, and for the first time, real fear crept into his voice. We're going to take everything, Aiden said simply. Your business licenses are being revoked as we speak. Your clients are receiving copies of our investigative report. Your bank accounts are frozen pending IRS investigation into financial irregularities Grayson discovered in your tax returns. And the Chicago Business Ethics Board is opening formal proceedings against you. You can't do this, Marcus said desperately. I have rights. You had responsibilities, Aiden corrected, his voice hardening. You had a pregnant wife who loved you. You had a woman who gave up her family for you, who introduced you to every contact that built your career, who believed in you when no one else did. And you repaid her by humiliating her in front of 1,000 people. She trapped me with that pregnancy, Marcus tried. She knew I didn't want kids. Stop talking, Grayson interrupted, and something in his tone made Marcus's mouth snap shut. We know about Miami. Marcus went absolutely still. We know about Jennifer Cortez and your 2 children with her. We know they're 3 and 5 years old. We know you've been maintaining a second family in Florida for 6 years, which means you were already married to someone else when you proposed to Isabella. The gasps that rippled through the crowd were like thunder. Phones were up everywhere now, recording everything. That makes you a bigamist, Miles added helpfully. Also a federal crime. The FBI is already aware. They'll be in touch. Marcus's legs seemed to give out. He stumbled backward into a table, sending champagne glasses crashing to the floor. Scarlett made a small sound of distress, and actually started backing toward the exit. Where do you think you're going? Aiden asked, his gaze shifting to her. Scarlett Hayes, Esquire, Harvard Law, class of 2019. Currently employed by Morrison and Lee, one of Chicago's most prestigious corporate law firms. Scarlett froze. Did your employers know you were having an affair with a married client? Aiden continued. Did they know you advised Marcus on how to hide assets from his pregnant wife in preparation for divorce? Did they know you helped him establish offshore accounts to avoid fair settlement? Scarlett's voice failed her. The Illinois State Bar takes a very dim view of attorneys who participate in fraud, Miles said. I've already sent them a full report. You'll be disbarred by the end of the month. You can't prove any of this, Scarlett tried desperately. We can prove all of it, Grayson said. You used Morrison and Lee's email servers for your communications with Marcus. You thought you were being clever using encrypted messages, but Aiden owns the encryption company. We have everything. Scarlett looked at Marcus, waiting for him to defend her, to fight back, to do something. But Marcus was staring at the floor, his face ashen, his hands shaking. The ballroom doors opened again. 2 FBI agents in dark suits entered, followed by 3 officers from the Chicago Police Department. Marcus looked up, confusion and terror warring on his face. Marcus Drake? The lead FBI agent asked. Yes? You're under arrest for bigamy, wire fraud, and tax evasion. You have the right to remain silent. As the agents moved forward with handcuffs, Marcus finally broke. Wait, please. He looked desperately at Aiden. I'll make this right. I'll apologize to Isabella. I'll give her everything in the divorce. Just call them off. Aiden stepped closer, close enough that only Marcus could hear him. You humiliated my sister in front of 1,000 people. You made her feel worthless. You laughed while your mistress poured punch on her pregnant body. And you did it because you thought she was alone. You thought she had no one to protect her. The handcuffs clicked around Marcus's wrists. But Isabella was never alone, Aiden continued, his voice soft and lethal. She has 3 brothers who would burn the entire world down for her. And tonight, you're going to learn what happens when you forget that. Marcus was led away in handcuffs, still trying to protest, still trying to explain. Scarlett followed in her own set of handcuffs, her designer heels clicking against marble as police officers read her rights. The 1,000 guests stood in shocked silence, phones still recording, watching the complete destruction of a man who'd made the mistake of underestimating the power of family. Aiden turned to address the crowd, his voice carrying through the ballroom. Let me be very clear about what you witnessed tonight. You watched a man abuse his pregnant wife. Some of you laughed. Some of you recorded it. None of you stopped it, and that makes every single one of you complicit. The shame in the room was thick enough to choke on. But you're going to have a chance to make it right, Aiden continued. Miles's media empire is publishing Isabella's story tomorrow. Every outlet, every platform. You're all going to participate in telling that story truthfully, or you're going to discover exactly how unpleasant life becomes when the Harrington family decides you're an enemy. Do I make myself clear? 1,000 heads nodded. Good, Aiden said. Now get out of my hotel.
Outside the Grand Meridian Hotel, Isabella sat in the back of Aiden's Koenigsegg, wrapped in a blanket Dr. Chen had provided after examining her. The baby was fine. Isabella's hand was bruised but not broken. Physically, she would heal. Emotionally, she felt like someone had reached inside her chest and rearranged everything she thought she knew about love, family, and her own worth. Dr. Chen had left 20 minutes ago. Now Isabella sat alone in the quiet luxury of her brother's car, watching through tinted windows as FBI agents led Marcus out in handcuffs. She should have felt triumphant. She should have felt vindicated. Instead, she just felt tired, bone-deep, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with pregnancy. The car door opened. Aiden slid into the driver's seat, followed by Grayson in the passenger side. Miles climbed into the back beside Isabella, his arm immediately going around her shoulders. For a long moment, no one spoke. The engine wasn't running. The only sound was Isabella's quiet breathing and the distant wail of police sirens as they took Marcus away. I'm sorry, Isabella finally said, her voice cracking. "I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you. I thought you were trying to control me. I thought I knew better." Bella, Aidan turned in his seat to face her, and the gentleness in his voice broke something inside her. "We don't need your apology. We need you to know that we never stopped loving you. Not for one single second of the past 5 years. We respected your choice," Grayson added quietly. "Even though it killed us to watch you walk away, we respected that you needed to make your own decisions, even if we knew they were mistakes. But we never stopped watching," Miles said. "We had investigators keeping tabs. We knew every time Marcus hurt you, every time he made you feel small, and it destroyed us that we couldn't intervene because you'd made it clear you didn't want us in your life." Isabella's tears came harder now. "Why didn't you force your way back in? Why didn't you make me see the truth?" "Because you wouldn't have believed us," Aidan said gently. "You would have thought we were manipulating you, controlling you, proving your worst fears right. You needed to see Marcus's true nature for yourself. His voice caught. "We just hoped it wouldn't hurt you this badly when you finally did." "I gave up my family for a man who never loved me," Isabella whispered. "I threw away 5 years with you because I wanted to prove I didn't need the Harrington name. And all I proved was that I was naive and stupid and—" "Stop!" Grayson interrupted firmly. "You're not stupid, Bella. You're human. You fell in love with who you thought Marcus was. That's not a character flaw. That's hope. That's faith. That's the beautiful heart we've been trying to protect since you were 7 years old." "Marcus is going to prison," Miles said matter-of-factly. "The bigamy charge alone carries 5 years. Combined with the fraud, tax evasion, and evidence we found of him embezzling from clients, he's looking at 15 to 20 years minimum." "And Scarlett?" Isabella asked. "Disbarred within the month," Grayson confirmed. "She'll face criminal charges for conspiracy to commit fraud. Her legal career is over." Isabella should have felt satisfaction. Instead, she just felt hollow. "What about me? What happens to me now?" Now, Aidan reached back and took his sister's hand, careful of her bruised fingers. "Now you come home. You move back into the family house where we can take care of you during this pregnancy. You let us hire the best attorneys to handle your divorce, which will be quick since Marcus's bigamy invalidates your marriage anyway. You let Miles control the narrative so you're not hounded by media, and you let us be your brothers again. I don't deserve." "You deserve everything," Miles cut her off. "You always have. And if the past 5 years taught us anything, it's that we need to tell you that more often. We need to show you that our protection comes from love, not control." The 4 of them sat in silence for a moment. Through the windshield, Isabella could see hotel guests streaming out, their evening's entertainment thoroughly ruined. Some looked ashamed, others looked shaken. All of them had learned a lesson about complicity tonight. "I felt so alone in there," Isabella admitted quietly. "When that punch poured over my head and everyone laughed, I thought I deserved it. I thought this was karma for abandoning you." "That's what abusers do," Grayson said, anger threading through his voice. "They isolate you. They make you feel like you deserve their cruelty. They convince you that the people who actually love you are the enemy." "But you were never alone, Bella," Aidan added. "Even when you weren't speaking to us, we were 8 blocks away. We've always been 8 blocks away. And the second you needed us, we came." "How did you know?" Isabella asked. "How did you know I needed you tonight?" "Sophie Chen," Miles said. "Your friend from college. She never stopped sending us updates over the years. And tonight, when things got bad, she called us directly." Isabella remembered Sophie, standing in the corner of the ballroom with her phone. She'd thought Sophie was just another person recording her humiliation. Instead, Sophie had been calling for help. The 3 brothers who'd raised her, the 3 men who'd worked themselves to exhaustion to give her every advantage, the 3 people she'd accused of smothering her when all they'd ever done was love her fiercely enough to let her go when she asked them to. "Can I ask you something?" Isabella said softly. "Anything?" All 3 brothers answered simultaneously. "Will you be there when the baby comes? Will you teach her that family means showing up? Will you help me raise her to be strong enough to recognize real love when she finds it?" Aidan's eyes were suspiciously bright. "Bella, we're going to be the most annoying uncles in history. We're going to spoil her rotten and teach her to code and invest and how to tell the difference between men who love her and men who want to use her. We're going to make sure she never doubts her worth," Grayson added. "We're going to show her what real men look like. Men who protect without controlling. Men who love without conditions. And we're going to tell her the truth about tonight," Miles said. "How her mother was brave enough to walk away from cruelty with her head high. How she chose dignity over destruction even when the whole world was watching. How she raised a daughter knowing that real strength isn't about never falling down. It's about standing back up." Isabella leaned her head on Miles's shoulder, finally letting herself feel safe. Outside, Marcus's world was ending. Inside this car, surrounded by her brothers, Isabella's world was just beginning again. 6 months later, Charlotte Rose Harrington was born in a private hospital room with 3 uncles surrounding her mother, each one of them crying as they held their niece for the first time. Marcus Drake was serving year 1 of a 20-year sentence. Scarlett Hayes was working as a paralegal in a different state under a different name. And Isabella had learned that the family she'd run from was the only family she ever needed. Sometimes the greatest love isn't the romance that sweeps you off your feet. Sometimes it's the steady, patient love of people who wait 5 years for you to come home and welcome you back like you never left. Where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments and tell me if you've got family like the Harrington brothers who'd go to war for you. And if this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we share powerful stories like this every week. Family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up when the world turns against you. It's the love that waits, and it's worth fighting for.